Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Makakadash, Barakatham. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Mystery and Ruwell, and to the Hakim and Akwath, throughout the four corners of the earth, accepting the faith in Hamashiach Yahushai, and waiting for that salvation. Yeah, waiting on that salvation. That's all we're waiting for in these last days and time, especially the elect. Yeah, of our people. Yeah, so here's a perfect example of the financial dilemma of these Moabites that had their funds, you know, disappeared. Just trying to find an accurate word to describe that, and you know, they're in so much of a panic that their financial stability has been taken away from them. All right, they trusted in the system, and then the system failed them. All right, and that's what happens when you have an unjust system of governance. It is subject to unrighteousness. All right, and this is exactly what happens. All right, when the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai Bashim Kakadash are being ignored. All right, so it ends up being a headache for the people to deal with. So I'm going to read from the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 11. Yeah, because you can't expect to live in a society like this without headaches. All right, and this is just one thing the Lord has explained to us. So Proverbs chapter 11 verse 1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So when the world operates on a system, on the financial system that is subject to corruption, that is a deviation from the Most High's laws, this is what happens, man. It pisses off the Most High, and it shows you that the world is in a bad case, all right? And people don't understand that the system is self-destructive, you know, and this is what happens. You know, when the devil begins to move in on the minds of these so-called bankers, this is what happens, man. And these big old companies that have all these backdoor deals with the government, this is what happens, man. So who knows how they're gonna resolve the situation, man? Is the government gonna fix the situation for the people? You know, are their funds insured by the so-called Chinese central bank? So that's gonna be a lot of worries they have to deal with on a daily basis, man. You know, sleepless nights, and it's gonna become evident here in the United States very soon that the financial system is not as sound as they claim for it to be, because all these credit-based systems not going to be sustainable when you have a problem with supplies, you have a problem with fuel prices, you have a problem with crime and all that stuff. So what's going to happen? You know, so how are the banks going to manipulate the system to benefit them? All right. So it's going to be rough. All right. And that's why we're looking forward to a system of just weights and balances. And that's going to happen in the kingdom. Okay. So any politician promising you that is going to make your life productive in this day and age, don't fall for the okie doke. All right. So the book of Proverbs chapter 23, verse 5. This is what it says. It says, Will thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. All right? And that's Seesaw system, his so-called digital banking system. Just like that. All those funds on the computer system gone gone to the drain, gone down the drain. Yeah, I mean they could trace it, but they're not gonna get the results they want because the gatekeepers are gonna maintain their maintain their stance, and they're gonna be backed by the government, to hold the people at bay. Yeah, so it's gonna be rough to see these people get their funding back or to get any reassurances. All right, so let me play the clip real quick. You're gonna hear them weeping and wailing.
A growing number of Chinese people now feel that it is getting harder to get cash out of their banks. This 80-year-old woman is being carried to the bank by her family because banks require that money transfers must be done in person.
She's carried to the bank to transfer money, okay? She's carried to the bank to transfer money.
The Chinese possess the spirit of not fearing hardship and enduring it. But the current situation is breaking their bottom line. That is, their money in the bank is gone, and it's not a small amount.
Yeah, so just imagine them, protesting day and nights for funds they do not have access to. So it just shows you that this world is not a world wherein dwells righteousness, all right? So the Lord has to make speedy riddance of this economic system, okay? So I'm going to get another precept from the book of Psalms chapter 62. All right, Psalms chapter 62, verse 10. All right, Psalm 62, verse 10. So it says this: Trust not in oppression, become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them. All right, and that's words of wisdom in these days and times when you have all these resources, all these funds just coming your way. You could win the lottery. You could win the so-called Powerball. You could get a huge lump sum from your tax return. You could start a business, and your revenue starts to increase astronomically. Scripture tells you, set not thine heart upon them. All right, because this is not the rulership to be rejoicing in riches. All right. So it's going to be a stumbling block for a lot of people in these days and time. That's the reason why robbers, rob banks, they rob jewelry stores, because they're desperate for something that they're trying to attend to. All right. But in the kingdom, there will be no need for the men of the Lord, to be concerned about gold and silver and all that stuff. Because we're all going to be righteous. We will have no need to be concerned about resources. All right, because all resources will be beyond our expectation. There'll be an abundance. There'll be no so-called artificial scarcity. There'll be no such thing as inflation. Supply chain bottlenecks and all that stuff. All right, so it's going to be beautiful in the kingdom to see how the Lord will set things up for us. All right, and the book of Proverbs. All right, Proverbs chapter 22, verse 22. This is another nugget of wisdom that we have to keep in mind. It says, "Rob not the poor because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate." Yeah, so these big corporations that take advantage of the poor people when they know that they're not represented at the table, you take advantage of them, all right? And the strong arm, and there's no difference between these crooked corporations and all these armed robbers that rob banks, all right? So it just shows you some folks are more organized than the others, all right? And these corporations you hardly have the so-called financial members charged with felonies. All you do is just hear about them paying fines and fees and all that stuff. They pay a fine and then they so-called get a slap on the wrist. But in the chaotic months to come, there'll be no so-called slap on the wrist because the streets will be filled with violence, all right? So it's going to be crazy in those days. There'll be no so-called SEC trying to find a company for stealing people's funds. These so-called SEC investigators were trying to protect their own families, as well as the so-called DOJ and the FBI. They're trying to protect their own families too. So it's going to be so how you say it, the house of cards falling apart. All right. So another precept you need to also look into is from the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 12. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. So you should be more concerned about the wisdom that the Lord is going to give to you to weather the storm, this financial storm that is consuming all these people that are not prepared for the chaotic environment. All right. So always remember that, man. Always remember that line. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. So you're going to be able to preserve your life when folks are burning out. Folks are getting depressed, they're blowing their brains out, they're taking all types of drugs, overdosing, whatever, to check out. But as a man of the Lord, you know that it's just a trial and tribulation. You have to do it to make it into the kingdom, because we all got to go through that straight and narrow path. All right, the position of difficulty, the straight gate. Yeah, so it's going to be bitter times, it's going to be bitter times. Even the book of Isaiah chapter 65 talks about that. Isaiah chapter 65, it tells you what the Lord will do for his elect. So you don't have to be concerned about your problems. So the book of Isaiah chapter 65 verse 13, it says this: Therefore thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai Bashim Krakadesh, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Wow. The Lord is powerful, man. When the Lord says something like this, it's gonna happen. Folks that lost hope in the Lord, they're gonna regret it. They've thrown away their faith. That's why it's important to have faith in this ministry. All right. Verse 14: Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirits. So this is the the situation that's going to be visited upon the face of the earth. All right, the so-called two-thirds and the heathens of this world, they're going to be upset and angry and frustrated, while the elect are going to be still and be grateful that the Lord is able to provide for them in the dark days. All right, so it's going to be rough for them. It's going to be rough for them. But for the elect, it's going to be a moment, I would say, a moment of upliftment. All right, Most High has to build up our faith some more in these difficult days and times. So you just have to accept it, man. Your faith has to grow daily. All right, it's not going to be easy, but it has to grow regardless. So the book of Ezekiel chapter 7 verse 13, it says this as per the economy. All right, it says in verse 12, I'll start from verse 12. The time is come that the day draweth near. Let not the buyer rejoice, nor the seller mourn, for wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. All right, so it shows you there's going to be situations that's going to be more drastic than the so-called economy, that the buyer and the sellers are going to be concerned about things beyond their businesses, beyond commerce. All right, it says this in verse 13: the seller shall not return to that which is sold. All right, so folks that own businesses will not be able to go to their businesses. That's why the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12, I believe, talks about the doors shall be shut in the streets. All right, when the grinding is low. All right, so it says in verse 13, for the seller shall not return to that which is sold, although they were yet alive, for the vision is touching the whole multitude thereof, which shall not return, neither shall any strengthen himself in the iniquity of his life. Yeah, so it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough out there, man, for these folks that are concerned about their livelihoods. So it's going to be bitter. Just like Moab is going through it over there, it's going to be over here in the shores of America very soon. All right, because these things must take place according to prophecy. So that's upon there, Akim Baratazar, the Lord will strengthen us as we drink from this bitter cup, man, because it's requirements. All right, Shalom.